I think is gonna help us.
In the start of the movie, we see a boy named Jack, whose father was a farmer. Jack enjoys listening to stories, and often prefers tales of kings and emperors. He was particularly fond of a story about a king who had taken over the entire country. This is a story from a time when that king was ruling. Some pastors created special, magical seeds. The sole purpose of these seeds was to help them reach heaven to meet God. They planted the seeds in the ground, and a massive tree grew, so tall that it reached the skies. The pastors believed that the tree was a path to heaven. When they climbed the tree, they discovered that there was another world between earth and heaven, a very dangerous place inhabited by giants who were 50 times larger than humans. When these giants saw the humans arriving there, they immediately understood that they were humans and had found a way to Earth. So, they came to Earth and started wreaking havoc. They destroyed everything and even began to kill and eat humans. Seeing this destruction, the king's companions killed one of the giants. Afterward, the pastors removed the giant's heart and performed a magic ritual on it, creating a magical crown from it. The surprising thing was that when the king wore that crown and went before the giants, they all knelt before him and accepted him as their king. This was because of the crown he wore. The king then ordered all the giants to return to their world. After all the giants had left, the king had the tree completely cut down and kept the tree's seeds for himself forever. When the king died, the seeds and the crown were buried with him forever. In addition to Jack, the princess also loved this story because she was from the king's family, and her mother always used to tell her this story. Now, we are shown a scene 10 years later. We see Jack, who is now grown up, going to the city to sell his horse. When he arrives in the city, he sees a play about the same king whose stories he used to listen to as a child. He goes inside to watch the play. There, we also see a girl who is the princess, but she has disguised herself and no one recognizes her. At that moment, some people start harassing the princess. Jack steps forward to save her, but a boy punches him in the face. Jack threatens them and they all kneel. Jack thinks they are scared of him, but when he turns around he sees that the princess's companions have arrived, and that was the reason they knelt. The princess then leaves with her companions. After this, we are shown Roderick, the man the princess's father, the king, wanted her to marry, but the princess did not like him and did not want to marry him. Roderick sees that everything in his room is scattered, so he checks what is wrong and finds the same crown from a pot that was made years ago from the giant's heart. But one thing was missing from the book. Roderick orders his soldiers to shut down the entire city immediately and to find the pastor wherever he is. Jack was wandering around the city to sell his horse when a pastor approaches him and says, "I want to buy your horse." Jack says that he needs to have money for it, which the pastor did not have. At this, the pastor gives Jack some seeds and tells him about a father. He says, "Give these seeds to him, and you will get your payment." At this, Jack says, "Who gives money for these seeds?" The pastor then says, "These are not ordinary seeds. They are magical seeds, so powerful that they change the entire world. Do not lose them at any cost, and most importantly, do not put these seeds in water at all." The pastor takes Jack's horse and leaves. But later, he is caught. When Jack gets home, his uncle gets very angry at him and says, "What have you done? You brought these small seeds in exchange for a horse. That pastor has made a fool of you." In his anger, he throws the seeds on the ground. Jack starts picking up the seeds, and one seed falls through a crack in the wood to the ground below, which Jack doesn't notice. It was raining outside, and the princess was passing by because she did not want to marry Roderick at any cost and was running away from her palace in anger. To escape the rain, the princess comes to that wooden house. Jack realizes that she is the princess, and they both start talking. Suddenly, rainwater from the wooden crack goes to the seed that had fallen on the ground. The pastor had said not to let it get wet. As soon as the water touches the seed, a huge tree starts growing there. Since the tree grew under that house, it also took the house up with it, and now the princess was trapped there. Despite Jack's efforts to save her, she goes up with the tree. The next day, the princess's father, the king, comes and sees a very big and long tree reaching the sky, and he can't see where it ends. Jack tells him everything. The king makes arrangements to go up and rescue his daughter. Roderick says, I will also go to save my future wife because I love her. Jack also wants to go with them, and they take him along. As these people are climbing up the tree towards the sky, Roderick deliberately cuts the rope, which causes some soldiers to fall and die. After some time, all the remaining people reach their location, a world that was between earth and heaven. Upon reaching there, Roderick says to Jack, "I know you have those magical seeds, so give them to me." Jack did not want to give the seeds, but Roderick takes them from him at knife point. However, Jack keeps one seed with himself. Then, they all go in 3 different directions to find the princess. Everywhere was danger. In the group where Jack was, a big giant comes in front of them and takes both of Jack's companions with him, and Jack also goes after him because he wanted to find the princess at all costs. He knew that wherever this giant was going, the princess would be hidden there. Then we see Roderick and his companions. Roderick throws one of them to the ground because he was not his companion. And then a giant comes in front of him and eats his companion in front of his eyes. Now he is also about to kill Roderick, but Roderick takes out the crown. And this was the same crown that was made from the giant's heart thousands of years ago, which the king had made and had magic power. Now it was obvious that whoever had this crown would rule here, and these giants would obey him. And so, wearing the crown, Roderick reaches a place where there were many giants, and the princess was also there with one of their companions whom the giant had brought. Seeing the crown, all the giants kneel before him. Now the head of the giants, Roderick, also asks him to bow down, and he does the same by obeying his words. Roderick puts his foot on his head and comes to the throne and says, "From today, I am your king. Now we will go to Earth and make everyone there our slave." The giant brings the princess and Jack's companion, the captured fighter, to the kitchen and is about to make that fighter his food when Jack comes there. Before the giant could kill him, Jack takes a big knife from there and jumps on him, and the knife goes into the giant, which kills him on the spot. And in this way, Jack saves the life of that fighter, after which all 3 of them get out of there and reach a place from where they could go down to Earth through the tree. But a very big giant was sleeping there, and in his presence, they could never go from there. After this, while making a plan, Jack and the fighter bring a beehive, and they take off the armor mask that the giant was wearing and put the bees inside, which makes the giant wake up and start to writhe in a strange way. And due to the giant losing his balance, he falls straight to the ground. The king sees him below and understands that the giants want to come down now. That is why he orders his soldiers to cut down this tree, because if those giants come to Earth, they will destroy everything, and then no one will be able to stop this destruction. Above, that fighter says to Jack and the princess, "You both go down to Earth, and I will stay here to face them, and I want to stop Roderick at all costs because if he goes to Earth, he will create a scene of destruction everywhere, and I know his intentions very well." That is why the fighter stays there, while Jack and the princess start going down the tree. Here, the king did not want this at all, but still, he starts cutting down that tree. He knew that the tree was a danger to the whole world and could become a reason for destruction. On the other hand, Roderick, with his giant soldiers, is preparing to come down to Earth, and that fighter was also hiding there. But before all those giant soldiers can go down with their bad intentions, that fighter suddenly attacks Roderick and kills him, and that crown falls from Roderick's head right there. It is shown on Earth that the soldiers have cut the tree, and that tree starts coming down slowly. That fighter is also falling down with the tree, and Jack and the princess are also going down. But all 3 of them survive. And the same crown is found by the leader of the giants, and he wears it on his finger, and all the giants now consider him their king. But now all these giants could not go to Earth because the tree was cut. They see a small bag there, and in that bag were the same seeds, the magical seeds. The giant king throws those seeds into the water, and very big trees start growing there, and all the giants together turn all those trees towards the ground, and now they start moving towards the ground. Here, the king finds his daughter and becomes happy. That's why he thanks Jack in happiness. But he did not know at all that Jack and the princess have started liking each other. Jack says goodbye to the princess and leaves from there because he was a common and poor boy. When Jack is going towards his house, he looks up and sees that the same trees are coming towards the ground again, and he immediately understands that they have come through the same seeds that Roderick had snatched from him, and now those giants want to come to Earth. That's why he immediately gets on his horse and goes to tell the king. Jack reaches the king and the princess. He starts shouting, "The giants have arrived." And in the same time, giants had spread everywhere and started wreaking havoc. To save their lives, all the soldiers, along with the king, get on their horses and run towards the palace because they could save themselves only by reaching there. Otherwise, they will become prey to the giants because these people were the bloodline of the same king from where this whole story started. That is why the giants were never going to leave this family, because the same king had sent all these giants back up. Before all those giant soldiers could cause them any harm, everyone enters the palace. But Jack is left behind, and the fighter orders to pull up the wooden plank through which all these people had come out. But just before the door closes, Jack, along with his horse, goes inside by jumping over it at the perfect time. But the giant head grabs the wooden bridge. The fighter orders the other soldiers, "Let there be a rain of arrows," and they do the same, and the giant head falls straight into the water. There was fire there, and he could not come up from there. That is why he starts looking for another way through the water. The door was being closed, but from the other side, the giants were pulling the door towards them. But the people of the palace were not giving up either. We can see that the giants start throwing burning trees inside the palace. A giant throws a tree towards the palace wall by aiming, and the palace wall breaks into pieces. Seeing this, the king immediately understands that he can no longer stop them. The king says to the princess, "You go to a room. There is a secret passage that will take you to a place. There you will find a fire torch, and you will light it so that everyone can know that we are in danger." That's why Jack and the princess leave for their mission. And when they start moving towards the fire torch in the palace, the ground starts to crack badly because the giant who fell into the water was coming up by tearing the ground. And coming out, he attacks both of them and catches them. And that head giant was about to eat Jack when at the same time, Jack takes out the last seed that he had kept safely, and he puts that seed in the giant's mouth. As soon as the seed goes into his stomach, something strange starts happening with the giant, and he leaves both of them from his hand, and that seed starts growing in his stomach, due to which his body is torn into pieces. And Jack gets his severed hand, in whose hand was the same crown. On the other hand, all the giants had entered the palace, and the king and all the soldiers were standing in front of them, and they were seeing their death in front of them. But suddenly, all the giants kneel, and now they are in thought about what happened. When they turn around, they find out that Jack is standing there with that crown in his hand, and he puts that crown on his head. And he again gives orders to all the giants in the same way, "You all go back to your world." When all the giants leave, all the trees are cut down. Later, Jack and the princess get married and also have 2 children. Jack is telling them the stories of the same giants like his father. The children ask, "Where is that crown?" Then Jack says, "That crown is still safe because that crown has been made very beautiful, and it has been kept in a place where people come from far away to see it, and till today, no one knows anything about its reality." And with this happy ending, the movie ends right here. To watch more movie explanation videos like this, don't forget to write "next" in the comments. Thanks for watching.